are live. This is Tuesday, August 19th, 2025. Tonight, we will be joined by ARCA Menards series, Andy J. He will be at 7:30. We've got some news to talk about. We've got some Hall of Fame inductees. I would like to first announce that we're going to go ahead and announce our for the upcoming Worldwide Media Hall of Fame induction ceremony that will be held in November, featuring former Speed Channel and Fox Sports analyst John Roberts, who will also be giving him a special dedication on that night, which you guys will all know more about it privately as things go on. In the meantime, the Celebrity Wing is going to welcome David Letterman, owner of Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing. David Letterman will be our Celebrity Grand Marshal Wing inductee announcement this week. David Letterman has a long history of racing in his background. Chris, what are your thoughts about us adding David Letterman to our Hall of Fame class?
I mean, the guy's a television Hall of Famer, not just a motorsports Hall of Famer. I mean, you want to talk about a triple threat TV, and he was also a comedian before that. He started his career way back in 1970 at the old Comedy Store in LA, which, I mean, there's a lot of big names that have come out of that place, and you got to impress, and he was able to do that. So, this guy, very, very fitting to put him in there. I think Ray Hall has won an Indy 500. I'd have to go back and look, but that is a very successful team, and it has a long history in open wheel racing.
All right. Also, we are going to, so as we get closer and closer to the end of our announcements, a few years ago, back in 2021, I launched my first show called Race Talk. On that show, I had guys like Ward Burton, Samantha Tan, Chris Wright, everybody's favorite ARCA driver. I've had quite a few people on that show. And then last year, we relaunched and rebranded as Motor Racing Podcast. So Kevin Marble, myself, and Don Allen of Five Lug Racing will be inducted into the Worldwide Media Hall of Fame for Motor Racing Podcast, the show that started it all.
Right on. A little before me.
And yeah, a little bit, but it's all good though. And our drivers to be inducted into the Hall of Fame will be Danica Patrick, and there was someone else. Who the hell was it? Oh, and recently announcing his retirement from the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, Matt Crafton will be inducted into Worldwide Media Hall of Fame class, joining Rick Mears, Dan Welding, Dave Blaney, Dale Blaney, Kenny Irwin Jr., Adam Petty, Steve Kinzer, Nicky Carmichael, Ryan Dungey, celebrities Ozzy Osbourne, and Jim Neighbors. Now, we've got 2 spots remaining. Legacy Award, that's going to be the Legacy Award will go to the Iron Man, the Intimidator, Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah,
So that is our
I think that's
class. And our field's it's filling up. We got 2 driver spots remaining. 2 remaining. We got some Xfinity news. Chris, tell us about it.
Well, we got a new sponsor. One from my neck of the woods, out of the Ozarks. O'Reilly's is coming on board to replace the Xfinity brand in 2026. That's exciting. It's going to be interesting to see what the changes are going to be. I know that they're kicking around a few changes right now. They may be thinking about let the Cup Series guys come back down and do a little bit of bushwhacking. I don't know. I don't really agree with it, but if
I did hear that. I did hear that. I guess what they wanted. Oh wow, my feed's actually doing pretty damn good. Holy shit, that's a first. I heard that they want to do it to the old school way from when it was Bush Series. Because they feel like it's what they want to do, and they want to also change it for the Truck Series as well. So it's going to be very interesting. So remember when we talked about the IROC cars that's for sale?
Yes. So I think you were going to reach out to a guy to see how much it was.
Yeah, so I reached out for shits and giggles for the Tony Stewart 2006 Daytona winning IROC car. The grand total is $300,000.
I told you, $250,000.
Yes, sir. Like I said, I was just curious. So for those of you who do not know, yesterday, Matt Craftman, who has spent the last 23 years with Menards, has announced his retirement from the NASCAR Craftman Truck Series at the end of the year. Ty Majeski will pilot the number 88 full-time in 2026. There was multiple rumors that Matt was going to step down as a full-time driver. Matt Craftman is one of those drivers where he was the Truck Series. It's the only series he ever raced in full-time. Truck racing was in his blood. So congratulations to Matt Craftman on an incredible NASCAR Craftman Truck Series career.
Yeah, and to think about this, he was right there, pretty much racing against the guys that started it all, the Ron Hornadays, the Jack Spriggs, the guys that built the series. So, 25 years in the Truck Series. He did make a start in the year 2000. So a 25-year career, 15 wins, and 331 quality finishes at 585 starts. It's nothing to sneeze at. And, he was a champion. So, at the end of the season a couple times. So, again, enjoy retirement, bud, because you definitely earned it. And like I said, the dude was and is the Craftsman Truck Series, and went up against the best and beat the best.
Mm-hmm. So, speaking of the truck, let's go ahead and cover the truck since we're on the subject. Whose time? Heim's time. Corey Heim won the Truck Series race at Richmond. Ty Majeski finished second. Lane Riggs finished third. Sammy Smith was seventh. Corey LaJoie was fifth. Giovanni Ruggiero was sixth, who won our driver of the race, who was also our very first driver of the race award winner. Way back in February. Jake Garcia was seventh. Ben Rhodes, 8th, Chandler Smith, 9th. Caden Honeycutt in the number 52, driving for Stuart Friesen, was 10th, and locks himself, and he is in the NASCAR Truck Series playoffs. Tyler Akram 11th, Christian Eckes 12th, Grant Enfinger 13th, Tanner Gray 14th, Carson Quavel was 15th, Brent Cruz 16th, Matt Mills 17th, Connor Mosak 19th, 18th, Rajah Caruth 19th, Bailey Curry rounds out your top 20. Andres Perez Dallara was 21st, Luke Finhouse 22nd, Patrick Staropoli was 23rd, Tony Bredinger was 24th. I will be working for her sponsor, Victoria's Secret. Matt Gold 25th, Matt Craftman 26th, Nick Lentz 27th, Spencer Boyd 28th, Ryan Roulette 29th, Caleb Costner 30th, Dawson Sutton 31st. 32nd was Malcolm in the middle, Frankie Muniz. Daniel Hemrick was our Xfinity Fast Lap, was 33rd. Stephen Malonzi was 34th, and Clayton Green rounds out your field of 35.
Corey Heim is proving that he's the one to beat this year in the Truck Series. It's pretty much Heim and then everybody else, it seems.
But yeah, so and then we also, huh? I'm here. Sorry.
Okay. I thought I lost you there for a minute.
No, I said I did mention I was going to be right back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So here are your 8 playoff drivers. Wait a minute. Something's not right.
Let's take a look. Okay, I got it right here.
Okay, I got the 10 drivers now. Okay. I got thrown off for a minute. Corey Heim, Lane Riggs, Chandler Smith, Daniel Hemrick, Tyler Ankrum, Ty Majeski, Grant Finger, Rajah Caruth, Kiden Honeycutt, and Jake Garcia round out your top 10. My championship 4 will be Corey Heim, Daniel Hemrick, Ty Majeski, and Rajah Caruth.
I'm going to say Ty Majeski, Lane Riggs, because he's been there all year long. Corey Heim, hard to bet against him. And I'm going to go out on the limb and say Grant Enfinger. You can't beat experience, and he's got it. He'll be there at the end in the championship 4.
So you got Heim, Riggs, Smith, and Enfinger. Not a bad choice.
Yes.
All right. We had the we did not have the Xfinity Series. No. We had the Cup Series. They did. Connor Zilic will be back this weekend at Daytona. All right. Silver Spoon Kid, Austin Dillon wins the race. Alex Bowman second. Ryan Blaney third. Joe Logano fourth. Austin Cindric with the top 5. There we go. That's what I'm.
There we go.
Larson was 6th. Daniel Suarez 7th. Josh Berry 8th. Brad Keselowski was 9th. Denny Hamlin 10th. Zane Smith, William Byron, Chase Briscoe, Shane Van Gisbergen, Carson Hocevar, Kyle Busch, Michael McDowell, Ty Gibbs, Ross Chastain, and Ty Dillon round out your top 20. AJ Allmendinger, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Cole Custer, Todd Gilliland, Eric Den, Bubba Wallace, Corey Heim, Chris Buescher, Riley Herbst, Cody Ware, Jesse Love, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Preece, your top 38. And William Byron, your 2025 NASCAR Cup Series regular season champion. So, and Daytona is coming up. Daytona is the cutoff for the NASCAR playoffs. So, we got a lot going on. And our four-wide media driver of the race was Joey Logano.
Sliced bread himself. Man, you got to feel for Bubba Wallace. He led 123 laps. He ripped the fastest lap of the race at a 22.96 and had a problem during the pit stop and lost a couple laps and just could never dig out of it. Definitely a hard luck pick of the race. The old Goody's Headache Powder Hard Luck Award goes to Bubba Wallace. Had the car to beat, but unfortunately had a problem with the left front coming off pit road and pretty much killed his night. Party at Pop Pop's house, though. Austin Dillon.
Right. Do we want to save ARCA for Andy J, or do we just want to go ahead and run through it now?
You know, let's we're coming up against it here. We'll have to do kind of a quick run. If you want to do a quick ARCA rundown, we can.
Yeah,
we had a
because he hasn't texted me yet, so.
Oh, so
I'm gonna pretend that I didn't just click on that.
All right, I don't want to know.
I clicked on something that said ARCA. It said you don't want to know.
Oh boy.
It was ARCA, but it wasn't the ARCA Menards series.
Okay. Well, let's see. Brent Cruz in the Nitro Kart Toyota took home the hardware at the Alan Crow 100 at the historic Springfield Mile at the Illinois State Fairgrounds, followed up by LeVar Scott. Kelly Kovsky brought home the number 16 machine third. Brendan Queen, the current points leader, brought his machine home fourth. Sean Core finished fifth. Max Reeves in the 18 Cookout Toyota ran sixth. Brayton Laster, the Riverside Structures Ford Fusion, finished on the lead lap for Wayne Peterson Racing in seventh. Alex Clubb came home eighth. Ninth, Brad Smith in the Gary Speed Shop Ford got a solid top 10. Jason Kitzmiller comes home 10th. Tony Cosentino in the Universal Technical Institute Toyota comes home 11th. Tim McRow brings home the Fast Track Racing number 11 in 12th. Sam Corey got involved in a wreck and ended up having a kind of a rough day, came home 13th. Joe Cooksey, ARCA veteran, comes home 14th. Michael Maples, 15th. Tim Goulet making a spot start in the Rise Motorsports Toyota Camry, comes home 16th.
I heard a rumor about that team.
Matt Kemp comes home 18th. 19th goes to Austin Vaughn in the Maples Motorsports Chevrolet. Lawless Allen, rough day at the office for him. Only completed 19 laps on Sunday. Comes home 20th. And with the last place position, 21st, Isabella Robusto, after 10 revolutions, got caught up in an incident with the 31 car and ended up out of the event after only 10 laps.
And speaking of ARCA, we got a guy coming up here that's had some solid runs in ARCA. Mr. Andy J, the pizza delivery man.
Yeah, he'll be up here shortly. I'm just waiting for him to. I did text him the link and waiting for him to. He confirmed me today that he was coming on today. So I shot him a link. But here's our weekend. But here is the weekend schedule for Daytona. We have qualifying for Xfinity at 3:00, the Cup Series at 5:05 p.m., and then the Xfinity Series racing at 7:30. On the CW. The trucks are off this weekend. Saturday, we have 7:30 Daytona for the NASCAR Cup Series. So the schedule's not officially out yet, but we confirmed Orland Speedway.
That's awesome. It's good to see a real racetrack come back to the state of Illinois, at least for the Cup Series. We also got some IndyCar coming up this weekend. We got all the major series going to be running at
Also,
the Milwaukee Mile. Got the Indy NXT boys and the
Milwaukee Mile. The final two races, the last two races are ovals. NXT boys and girl.
Mm-hmm. Can't forget about your girl.
And then we got Nashville coming up right after that. So we can pretty much put it in the bag now that Dennis Heiger is your Indy NXT champion. I know they haven't confirmed it yet, but I want to put now he is your Indy NXT champion.
Yeah, the Indy next guys. Let me take a look. With 2 races to go, he's got a 54-point lead, which is pretty massive. I think if he hasn't already locked it up already mathematically, he's pretty close to doing so. But there's still a lot of positions to be shuffled around. You've got Miles Rowe back there that could still end up with a podium at the end of the year if some things fall his way. So it's far from over, and there's going to be a lot of action this weekend at the historic Milwaukee Mile. Beautiful racetrack, great area to go watch a race, and just great people. I missed the ARCA series going.
I would love to see. I would love. They are in Madison. They are in Madison this weekend, I do believe.
Yes, and that's a nice little short track too. So we got a full slate of races.
Is it the main series or is it the East or West series?
It is the main series. The main series will be in action Friday night, August the 22nd.
Okay.
Yeah, 8 p.m. Central Time on FS1, the Badger 200 from the Half Mile, Madison International Speedway.
All right. Kill some time until Andy J comes on. So here is the potential NAS 2026 NASCAR Cup Series schedule that was released from one of NASCAR's sheet reporters. We have, of course, check this out. We have Watkins Glen in May instead of August. That'll be right before the All-Star race, which is now at Dover. Now I don't know how I feel about that. So the All-Star race at Dover, running in the daytime on a Sunday afternoon.
I'm going to be respectful and say give it a chance, but when I've heard it, I was like, and the crowd goes mild.
Right. And
take it to Daytona. Why not? Yeah. Run some heat races at Daytona.
That'd be sweet. And for the first time since 1996, North Wilkesboro is a Cup Series points race.
Thank God. At least somebody over there's got some sense. Way overdue. Should have never happened in the first place, but
it is slated to take place. Yeah, slated to take place July 19th on TNT, followed by the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis. And then we got Richmond and New Hampshire before the playoffs, kind of like the olden days when it was Richmond and then the playoffs started at New Hampshire. So New Hampshire would be your cutoff race. No, sorry. Daytona would be your cutoff race on August 29th. And then what else have we got? We've got July 5th, Chicagoland Speedway. All right. We got Andy on. Let's see if we can get him on here. Add to stream. There we go. We got it going. And come on, computer. There
Yeah,
he
I'm still
is.
here.
Got me?
Hey, Andy, how you doing? I got you, buddy.
Running behind. They just let me go out of work. They kept me an extra half hour naturally. The one day I got to be out.
Trust me.
You guys hear me?
We understand how that is. Yes, we can hear you just fine.
I was about to
Perfect.
say, you have delivery pizza
So we
right now, Andy?
I just got off. That's what I've been doing.
Right
all
on,
day.
man.
A long day.
That indeed. That indeed. Well, you see,
I was
So,
gonna freshen up a little bit.
well, we
but guys
appreciate
did
you
the
stopping
whole
by
call.
to Hey, it's all good, man. So you're not running the full ARCA schedule, is that correct?
No, we missed a few already.
Okay, so Chris, I'm gonna let you lead this off, buddy.
Well, so you obviously you're a Northeast guy, which modified racing is huge up there. You know, it's you made a couple starts in the Wheeling Modified Tour, which is like going up against Murderers Row. I mean, some of the Sports Hall of Famers have come through that series. You know, what's been tougher for you, running ARCA or going head to head against the nation's or actually the world's best modified racers in that tour?
Well, you know, I don't think I've ever put enough of a focus on the Wheel and Modified Tour to really give myself a chance at it. I don't think anybody can show up on that tour, you know, with those regulars when they're in their routines and expect to go be dominant against them. Now, I race weekly against Matt Hirschman and Austin Beers and, you know, a lot of guys that, you know, competitively win races on that tour, Patrick Emmerling, you know, and, you know, when I'm in, you know, in a situation where, you know, I'm practicing with the same car every week and, you know, I'm a little bit more dialed in, I feel like I can be competitive with those guys. And I think probably, you know, just putting more emphasis into ARCA probably is why we run a little bit better. I think if we put the same effort into the Wheel Modified Tour, I like to think that we could, you know, we could be competitive with those guys for sure. But, you know, the couple times we've done it, just racing part-time for my buddy Steve, probably haven't really given ourselves a fair shot. You know, you know, if I run a couple races a year, it's hard to get used to the car and get acclimated. And, you know, he usually runs a different setup than I'm used to. And I run a different setup that he likes. So we're always kind of, you know, going back and forth on the setup a little bit, trying to meet somewhere in the middle. And then it's like, by the time we get rolling, you know, he has a scheduled race with somebody else or something will change. So, you know, I feel like, you know, each one has their differences as far as the series go. You know, I think that, you know, winning an ARCA race is probably more difficult, I think, than winning a Wheel and Modified Tour race. It just in my opinion. Now, I also think that the Wheel and Modified Tour is much deeper. You know, if you're a little bit off in an ARCA car, you know, if you have a bad, you know, not having your best day, you can, you know, with good equipment, you can probably, you know, scrap out a top 10 on the Wheel and Modified Tour. You know, if you're having an off day, you're going to be in the 20s. You know, I was actually just looking at the, I think it was the practice speeds for one of them. I'm always paying attention to my buddy Steve Mendoza's car when I'm not driving it. And, you know, his car was 21st in practice speed, but it was only like 0.3 off the fastest time. I mean, that's, you know, that's kind of crazy. Now, and you shift to ARCA where, you know, you have these big heavily funded heavy hitter teams like the Pinnacle Racing Group team and the Gibbs team, and even the Venturini team, and these guys that they have really well teams with really deep resources that are it's tough to overtake them. So I think that but I think that the gap is much bigger between first and 10th in an ARCA race than it is between first and 10th in a wheel modified tour race. First, there's, probably, without some calamity, there's probably 5 guys in the field realistically that can win an ARCA race. On some days, maybe only 3. And I think in the wheel modified tour, you probably have, probably 10 realistic guys on the right day could go win, maybe more. I think there's been 8 different winners or something this year. So, but in the same breath, you have your heavy hitters, you got your, Ron Silk's going to be good, Justin Bonsignor is going to be good. And they are, extremely well-funded teams with deep resources. And, you have your, like your Kyle Bonsignors and these guys that have really good teams, and, they're going to win a race or two every year too. But there's still there's still like those top 3 teams. I just think that the gap's a little bit smaller probably in the modified stuff versus racing against, when you race against the Joe Gibbs ARCA team, you're racing against, 30, 40 years of notes from going to, bringing 8 cars to a weekend, between Xfinity, truck and Cup, they're just a lot of knowledge over there and a lot of ways to make that car go fast. And so it's really tough to overcome that sometimes on the ARCA side.
I think you put that perfectly. I was working for another guy. I kind of quoted the bit from Moneyball, where it was like, there's good teams, there's not so good teams, then there's 10 tons of crap, and then there's us. And it's tough over there, especially with some of these teams are glorified Cup teams. They put all the way down to their over the wall crews. They're all ex-college athletes that are essentially, Cup alternates that are just getting their reps in. So it's definitely a tough. Now you have had some success, some success in ARCA for sure. A lot of quality finishes and in a limited schedule. To put it, nothing to sneeze at. 42 starts and 24 quality finishes at the third highest level of professional stock car racing is nothing to sneeze at all. And,
well, we have a very good team, and I do like to separate the the ARCA platform into different tiers. Sorry, I'm going by a police officer right now. I think we're good. We're getting to be, we're not where the Pinnacle cars are. We're not quite where, the Gibbs car is. But I feel like week in and week out, I feel like we're really competitive with, at least half of the Venturini cars and, the Rev Racing cars. We certainly end up racing with those guys a lot. There's, if there's 4 Venturini cars, one's usually really good. I might be able to scrap it out a little bit with a couple of them where, we're getting to be really competitive with what I call the second group. There's, the Pinnacle car and the Gibbs car, they're usually out front. They're going to be really tough to beat. And then, like one of the Venturini cars or 2 of the Venturini cars where they're kind of the top tier. And we're really holding our own with that second tier, where I would say probably the first couple of years we were more maybe like that third tier kind of team, where we really couldn't quite get to where the Rev cars were, but maybe, we're racing maybe with like Greg Van Alst or, maybe, even, a couple of the Venturini cars with some more developmental drivers that weren't quite, I raced against Corey Heim and Jesse Love. They were like the top tier Venturini cars. And, they'd have like Tony Breidinger and racers that were still kind of learning their craft where, we could get a little bit, where we're racing with them a little bit, where they're still kind of learning a little bit and developing. So, I call that kind of tier was we're more getting towards that second tier, and we're doing very small. We have Andy Seist, who is a extensive amount of experience in ARCA and Xfinity and Cup, and our crew chief Mike Dayton, crew chief on a Cup car before, and just pulling out all the stops, really, just with a small team, and just trying to get a little bit better each week, and focusing on speed and developing the cars is just really, it's jolted us into what is now class motorsports in a very competitive situation, I feel like.
Do you ever think that you'll ever go
yeah.
full-time ARCA racing, or are you going to kind of slowly phase in? Obviously, this is all depending on funding. You ever think that you'll ever go full-time ARCA racing, or are you always going to run, a quarter or a half of the schedule?
You cut out on that last question.
Do you ever think that you'll run the whole tour, or are you going to try to stick with a quarter or half of the schedule?
I'm not hearing you guys if you're talking.
All right, can you hear me now?
Trying to figure out if it's me. I don't think it's me.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Hey, Andy? Still there, bud?
I hear him.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I can't, guys.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can hear you. Can you hear us? Can you hear me now?
I'm gonna try.
Yeah, I can't hear you, though. I just got your message.
And then add him back. Let's see. Off.
Well, we're having some technical difficulties here, folks. We'll hopefully get Andy J back on the line here with us. Can you hear us now?
Let's see. Let's see. I got him back.
Andy.
Back on the screen. Can you hear us now?
Seems to be having some issues with his phone. We can hear him. He can't hear us.
Yeah.
Like I
Live
said,
show. Anything can happen.
Technical difficulties. I don't know who's in, if it's his phone or us. But yeah, in his entire ARCA career, 42 starts, 5 top 5s, 24 top 10s. And this guy has not run more than half the schedule in any of those years. He's been in the series since 2021. Again, Andy J has been in the series for the past 5 years at the ARCA national level, and is impressed with a small organization with maybe not as much funding as some of the bigger guys. Do we happen to have him back by chance? Hey, Andy, can you hear us? Okay, we were having some issues with his phone at this point in time. Hopefully, we can get him back at some point. But yeah, this is a first. I was hoping that we were talking to him in the middle of a delivery there. That would definitely be a motorsports first to do an interview in the middle of a pizza delivery.
Right.
But but yeah.
On my leg. Right. Bring him back on the screen now.
I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here.
No, it's
Come on, screen. Now my screen.
It's technical
I'm not good with
difficulty
technology.
that happens, man. This app is very problematic. I have to use it on my computer because it doesn't work on my phone. It likes to kick me out. So you are not alone.
Oh, hello.
Can you hear us now? You can hear us? I think we may have lost Andy here.
Let me go see if I can get my laptop fired up.
Okay, yeah.
I guess that was
all right. So in the meantime, in between time, I'm going to lay out here. We'll try to do a little bit of talking to kind of fill some time here for you folks. But yeah, that was Andy Jankowiak, driver of the number 73 class motorsports car in the ARCA Menards series. Like I said, the dude with limited resources has impressed plenty. Again, you know, last year, if you look at just the East schedule, Andy had an average finish of 7.3, which is right there with those frontline cars. And that's in 3 starts.
Yeah.
That's only an 8-race series, but still has been very, very solid in a limited schedule. So he's one of my picks of guys that, you know, is going to surprise us one of these days. I think he's got a real shot of possibly winning one of these things. I think him in the 27 of Tim Richmond, who's very, very solid at Daytona, was on the front row a couple years ago, may shock the world and win one of these things one of these days. But Billy Mullins is
if you remember
right, too.
If you remember, okay, let's see.
Yeah, I borrowed a phone and it works, so I have no idea why.
I think we got him back.
You can hear us now.
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So back to what I was trying to say before things went sideways. I know this is all depending on funding, but are you ever thinking about running the full schedule, or are you going to try to stick with kind of this slow roll of running a quarter or a half of the season until everything's up to snuff?
Well, we've been running about half the races, and we've focused on the NASCAR conjunction races just because it's just easier to find sponsors for it. You know, unfortunately, I mean, the reality, like we can sell at Daytona and Charlotte easier than we can sell at DeCoin and Elko, and that's just kind of the reality of it. It's just exciting to be part of those big weekends. So we're certainly looking at it. We're making a push for we need some more sponsors to be able to do it. We made a hard push this year because we were kind of up there in points, and we were able to add Kansas and Bristol through some helpers that jumped on board, and one of our marquee sponsors, Florida Safety Systems, stepped up, and that's how big reason we added Bristol and SunTrick Energy, and then we have a new one, Ranch Fuel. It's an energy drink, and we're adding these sponsors that are helping us add races down the road. Some of them have been on the car already, but it's all money that we're rolling forward into basically just adding races.
we're really lucky to have a owner with Kevin LaPierre, who's just a big race fan, and if we can get him some help, he'll probably go, and that's kind of what we've just been trying to do. He loves it, and he's a businessman, and he started out as one of my sponsors when I was doing it on my own, and he decided he wanted to try being a car owner, and kind of took things over, and makes life very easy for all of us, and possible for us to go do this. So but we can't go to these races without any help, and that's kind of what it comes down to. So we were able to get it, with all the sponsors we have. I mean, we're going to go to, I think, 12 of them this year by the time it's all said and done. 11 or 12. I have to go back and count them, but it's tough to go to 11 or 12 ARCA races, and we're very, very lucky to have an ownership group with Kevin LaPierre and Andy Seiss, and with our crew chief Mike Dayton, and all these guys that are can put this deal together to make that possible. And obviously Kevin's running very closely associated with a lot of the companies that we're running on the car. So a big the biggest part of that is Kevin, but we are very lucky to have a lot of awesome sponsors that also help us justify going to these races, and they offer a huge they're the reason a huge assistance for us to be able to go, like Wheeling Energy Group and Florida Safety Systems and Automotive Consultants of Ithaca and Yukon Creek Sportsman Club, and then obviously you got Phillips 66 came on board this year, and Dax Markets and Acacia Energy, and those are all companies that are kind of tied in with stuff Kevin's kind of doing, but they're jumping in and assisting and making this all doable. And we're trying to sell this as a tight knit group, and a kind of like a family run operation, really, because we're all doing this for the love of it, and just trying to make this all work, and hopefully we can put something together to go the full schedule. But the reality is that's a 200% increase in what we're already doing, and that's it's a big jump to get all the way to 20. And like I say, it is harder to sell some of them races. So I think each year we get a little bit closer. I think this probably the past 2 years, we've been closer each year, but I don't know, just equipment wise and with the structure of our team, there's only 2 guys in that shop full time right now with Andy and Mike. Wow. And, I go down and help, and we have guys that work down in the shop. We got young guy Daniel, and we got guys that help out when we get really busy, and guys that specialize in certain things, and that'll come assist us. But, we did a stretch of races between Rockingham and Michigan where I think we ran 5 races in like 7 or 8 weeks. And luckily we had some good luck. We didn't tear too much stuff up, and we got through it. But, we're probably about at max. That's probably the most, we could do, I think, with the structure we have. So to add more races, we probably have to have at least, one more car together. I would think probably, something just to be ready for that short track stretch. We'd have to have a dirt car, maybe something that could kind of go back and forth a little bit between both of those, where 2 years ago, I don't think we could have done it car wise. I think this year we probably, without any crashes, we could have done it car wise, but we would, if we had a wreck, followed by another, wreck, it would, we'd just be out of cars. And it's just, you gotta kind of be all in. If you sign sponsorship agreements and you say you're going to go, you got to go. So you just kind of be ready for, hopefully you have good luck, but you got to be ready for bad luck too. And it would probably take, more people in the shop. And that's something where, we just didn't get there as far as the funding went, and kind of ran out of time to make it really work. Like I say, by the time we got to that Michigan week, I think the series was racing like the next 3 weeks in a row. It was like Berlin, Elko, and Lime Rock, and we really hadn't gotten our road course car out yet. And our short track car was we ran our short track car at Rockingham, and I clipped the right side a little bit in practice, and we had to fix it. So it was like, it was fixable, but it was like, it was like 80% there. So it would have been a stretch. And then if we would have wrecked at Berlin, it would have been really hard to get to Elko. And then when do you have time for the road course car? And it just, kind of just ran out of time and hands. And we never really had the sponsorship to do it this year in the first place. It just kind of became a talking point because we were so good in the points. But I think going into this year, I think we're going to be a little bit closer. And I think if we hang in there in the points and we can add a couple sponsors over the winter where maybe we kind of, we planned on doing the first 6 races of the ARCA schedule this year. It was either 6 or 7. And then kind of seeing where things went from there. Maybe this year we figure on the first 10 and see where we're at that point, kind of deals like that, but you're getting into those Berlins and Elkos and those races that we haven't gone to yet. So, we'll see. I could talk about it all night. There's 1,000 different factors that go into a decision like that. But if the stars align, we certainly want to.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, there's doing it the right way. I mean, there's a lot of guys that just,
are we ever going to hear?
They just treat the cars like Swiss Army knives and just convert them to go run here and go run there. And you don't run.
No, I mean, Andy and Mike. No, and Andy and Mike won't do that. They just won't. And I don't think Kevin would want us to, but Andy and Mike are, very detail oriented, if, right down to just, cars got to be neat, clean, tidy, nut and bolt check, every little thing, and that's why we're running well. We are, without me bragging or being cocky, like we are outperforming, we're probably outperforming, just our employment structure and I mean, doing this with 2 full-time guys and running the way we do, it comes down to those 2 guys being so good at what they do. And, the things that they're good at are those little detail things like that. Like the car is going to be right when it leaves the shop. We're going to go to practice and we're going to have a plan of what 3 things we're going to try. And, the tires are going to be ready to bolt on the car and all these little things that slow you down. They just have everything in order. And that's how, we go to practice and we use that time to get better. We're not using that time to, figure out what's going to fall off the car or what oil line, anything like that. We go to these races ready to go and we go out to practice and we try our 3 things and we pick which one we like. And then we're better in the race for it, and that's where I think if you start spreading yourself too thin is where you miss little stuff like that. And those little things start to creep up on you. And then, you start skipping over little details, and those are the things that bite you at the racetrack. And, if you're not missing practice time, maybe you're falling out of the race. And, it's a lot of money to go to these races. It's insane when you really think about what racing at this level has become. And, I think Andy and Kevin kind of look at it like, if we're going to go and, it costs the same amount of money to go there and have something bad happen as it does to go there and run good, so if you miss something and it costs you, a good finish, they don't give you any money back. So to justify what we're doing and all the money we're spending and, and to keep our sponsors happy, we want to go to the track and run good. And I think we're not at a point yet where we could justify doing 20 races and really feel like we're going to the track 100%. I don't think. And I think that's, one of the stopping points, that and obviously the sponsorship, but the sponsorship becomes, more help in the shop and 1,000 other things that you can start catching up on some of that stuff. So it's definitely a balance. And like I say, I think every year we're closer. This is going to be the 4th year with Class Motorsports next year. Mm-hmm. We're going to be closer. We just did a couple races with a teammate car out there. Everything about it is growing. The trailers, beautiful and decaled, and there's all these little steps that we keep nudging at, and we're adding tools in the shop, and we're talking about an extension in the shop and maybe putting like a pull down unit in there, and our arsenal of shocks and bump springs and everything is deeper. And, we have better data on all the cars, and, we're spending time doing roll centers and stuff like that, where maybe, the first year we're kind of building the race car, and going to the racetrack with a very good car. But now we're taking a very good car and we're looking at these cars and go, okay, how do we make it just a little bit better? Where can we improve just a tiny little bit, and spending that little time is where you're going to go from the second tier to that first tier group. Cause that's what those guys do. They just, obsess over these cars and every tiny little bolt and detail, and, everything's just 1,000%. And, you can work out, a race car is never done. You can work on a race car forever, and you could never run out of things to do. I've always said that.
Oh yeah, I know that all too well. I mean, even with the little car stuff that I do, I run a little compact and decided to try to go and take my stuff national, and kind of got booted in the junk. I thought I was going to be able to run all the races, and we blew up. So now we're in the middle of building a motor. So yeah, it's one of those things where you have to be meticulous. You have to be 100% ready to go and make sure that everything's checked and rechecked before even going out there, because that's my big fear. And I know it's probably yours too, of going out there and just falling on your face. And if you're going to go out there and spend the money, go out and do it right.
Right. And, especially at this level, because those little details matter, no thread showing on a bolt and shorter bolts and lightening the car up. You keep chipping away at little stuff like that. It doesn't ever, look like much, but it starts to add up. And that's what you're racing against with the top tier teams that have, just incredible, funding and everything else. Cause they, there's probably 10 guys on a team like that versus 2 guys for us. So, we have to kind of pick our battles a little bit more than they do. You might not get to, shortening a bolt one thread, or, just these tiny little things that, aren't going to win or lose you the race. But if you do enough of them, they add up to a couple tenths, and, on a 50 lap run, a couple tenths is, starts to add up to some distance.
Yeah, that's
So I seen where a few weeks ago,
every little bit adds up in that thing. I mean, you look, I see your team, and I kind of see Alan Kowicki's team a little bit, where it's not as much funding as the big boys, maybe not as much inside the shop, but you guys are meticulous and you guys go through everything, and it shows every week in and week out, that you guys show up and run well. All that stuff adds up.
I appreciate that. I'll take an Alan Kowicki comparison anytime you want to offer one. I won't make it, but he's the hero for a lot of us that are out here trying to carve our own way in the sport. And I've definitely always looked up to him, so we'll take the compliment for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, I enjoy watching you race when you're on the track. I remember, I'm sure you hear it a lot, but I remember your famous quote about keeping it on the gas until you see got a checkered flag from Daytona of last year. I know I've seen a few weeks ago you won the night before the Glen, and that was what, your 4 years? Is that?
On that ROC modified series, yeah, we've won in the modified since then, but for some reason I just I've been king of the podium on that series for a long time, and just keep coming up short. So we finally got the monkey off our back.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And I went and ran second again last night, so I got probably back to my podium thing.
Hey, you know what? Still, that's still. I mean, it's still a good finish, though. I mean,
no, we had the fastest car at the end. The red 60 got me again. Matt Hirschman's tough. We were catching him at the end. Kind of lost a couple spots on a cycle of pit stops, and just ran out of laps.
Yeah, you get that sometimes, man. Race ends and you're in the wrong spot.
Yep.
I will say, I don't know if you've copyrighted that. I'm not going to lift until I see God with a checkered flag, but that thing needs to be on the T-shirt.
Yeah, we sold a few. No, I see it floating around. I don't think we ever did anything legal with it, or I don't know. I don't even know what you would do about it, because then you can copyright it, but then you gotta sue everybody that uses it, and we really are like, we're not Hendrick. We don't, we're very blessed with Kevin LaPierre being our team owner, and we have a lot of resources through his businesses. But everyone we have on this team is focusing on trying to make the race cars go faster and getting our name out there and my name out there, and we got a podcast, Racing with Class, that we work on, and we're very busy chasing sponsors. We're always knocking on doors, and we had team meetings about it, and we're always diligently just there's no days off ever.
Yeah, it's
it's nonstop. So I don't know, whose responsibility in our small little family team it would be to do all the copywriting it would take for that, and then sue everyone in China that tries to sell. We're just it's not. I don't know. It sounds good on paper, but we're just not that big, So it's funny actually, because the quote's actually gotten a lot of traction lately because they overlaid it with Ross Chastain's Hail Melon. It's actually kind of funny because, I think it was Austin Cindric was in the booth, and right after I said it, Austin Cindric's I'm not lifting until I see God or the checkered flag, and Austin Cindric's like, my man, and they overlay it with like Ross Chastain saying it, and it's like they're on board. They're like, Ross is going down the back straightaway. He's like, I'm not lifting until I see God or the checkered flag. And right before he hits the wall, the crew chief, it sounds like it's Austin Cindric, but it sounds like the crew chief, he's just like, my man. And it actually overlays perfect. So it's actually brought a lot more fame, I think, probably to the quote, just because whoever did that. I don't think it was Ross Chastain. Somebody made that up and posted it on social media. And I don't know how people make money off social media likes and views, but somebody probably is. And I don't know. I don't know where that person is or how to sue him. And I don't have time because I gotta leave here. I'm gonna get my Sportsman modified ready. Our TQ midget engine's blowing up. I got to switch engines in the modified at some point over the next week. I go to Indiana and get the other engine. And then at some point I got to go down and start getting ready for Bristol. So I don't know where that guy is that, made that video, and I don't have time to sue him. So he can have it, I guess.
Yeah, you just gotta let him have it.
Yeah, no, it is what it is.
Come on now.
It is what it is.
But yeah,
I don't get to talk to my girlfriend enough as it is, so I'm not taking more time away.
Yeah, that's kind of a big deal. Yeah, you got to make sure you got time enough for her, for sure.
Yeah, you do. But
yeah, go ahead. So when's the next race you're going to be running? Go ahead and plug your next show that you're going to be running.
ARCA or just anything.
Hell, anything. We got everybody all over the country watching this thing. I mean, the next ARCA show, and then whatever else you got going on, man.
I'll probably go run our dirt car at Ransomville Friday. I think we're going to practice the Sportsman modified to, what day is it? Tuesday? I guess, I don't know, Thursday. We got a big Race of Champions Sportsman Series event coming up at Holland Speedway this weekend. And then next week, we're racing Thursday at Lancaster Speedway with our Sportsman again. We're leading the championship points out there. We're running our 3/4 midget at Holland, and we're running our 3/4 midget at Lancaster. So I'll be double duty on Thursday. Friday next week, we go to Spencer Speedway for a $10,000 win modified race. I think we're going to race the Sportsman too. I haven't entirely decided, because there's actually 3 Sportsman races next week. So I don't know if we're going to race Spencer with it, or if we're just going to focus on the modified, if we run double duty Friday or not. And then Saturday next week, we go to Oswego Speedway Jody London promoted event out there for the Sportsman Series. We're racing in conjunction with the Wheel and Modified Tour, so big race out there. We were able to win it last year. It's one of the be running consies and stuff, so it's always a really cool event to be a part of that. So we're gonna go do that on next Saturday. There's a modified race in New Hampshire. I don't know what'll be left, but last year we tried doing. It actually adds up to 7 races in 4 days. We tried doing it last year, but we wrecked the modified on Friday, so we didn't have any modified left for Sunday. So, but I think last year I had a Wheel and Modified Tour right at Oswego too. So, we got a lot of races coming up. Is kind of the short version of it. I think we get one weekend at home. I think we're running Lancaster again, and maybe somewhere else, and then we'll be shuffling off to North Carolina. I'll go down there for Bristol Race Week. I'll help the guys with some final preparations. I'm kind of like involved with the vinyl stuff and just getting everything ready, getting everything loaded, and I'll stay down there with the team till we leave for the track, and we'll go to Bristol, and then we're taking the whole team. We're going to drive all the way back up to Erie, Pennsylvania for Race of Champions weekend, where we're going to race the midget, sportsman, and modified all over again, 250 lap race. So it's a busy few weeks. Oh, I always take the team cliff diving between Bristol and Erie too. We stop at a place in West Virginia where we all go cliff jumping. So that's on the docket as well.
I say West Virginia is beautiful. I was out there racing at Ona earlier this year. That's where
I want to race there. Okay. I had this thing. I've always like my favorite NASCAR season is the 1970 season, and I had this goal when I was younger to race at all the tracks that still exist on the 1970 schedule, and I've been clicking them off as the years go. Like Bowman Gray. I miss Greenville Pickens, but there's just so many cool tracks that were on that 1970 schedule, and they went to Ona, and that is, I believe it's the only asphalt track in West Virginia, and I've always wanted to race there, but I've never found any series with like similar rules. So if you ever, that's big on my docket. If we could ever work something out, let me run a race, or somebody that needs a driver for a night, bring a couple tires or something. I want to race there in the worst way.
Well, maybe I could build an extra asphalt compact. I mean, it's the most fun you can have with your clothes on, and they're cheap. So, I'm
supposed to be retired from 4-cylinders. I don't know. I used to dip that. I dipped that. What's funny is like all the racing I do, the worst I've ever been hurt is always in a 4-cylinder. I don't know why. Like I would drop down and do enduros and stuff once in a while just for fun. They have like $5,000 to win enduros sometimes, and I would go run them, and I could win money once in a while. But those were always the one where something stupid would happen, and I'd end up with a concussion or something. I got to stay away from 4-cylinders. But is there ever anything in one of them weekly classes? I'd love to come down there and run.
Yeah, I'd have to take a look at the rules down there. I've only been there once. I drove all the way from just south of Kansas City to Ona, West Virginia by myself, slept in the parking lot of the Love's truck stop, and then went to the track. I was all hyped. I was like, Kenny Schrader was there. I was like, all right, we're going to be able to race Schrader. And then in practice, coming off of turn 2, start stuttering. And then they're like, 42, you're dropping oil. I'm like, great. Came all this way, and kaboom.
Oh, that sucks. I was thinking it might be your local track.
No. Yeah, we got one asphalt track in the entire state of Missouri, and it's in the middle of Missouri. It's closer to Springfield than it is Kansas City. It's I-44, which ARCA ran a race there in 2020 that they literally put together in 2 weeks because of COVID, and there was a lot of restrictions. They literally put that deal together, and I think your girl Jordan Haley Deegan was in that race and was running up front and spun out. But that was a cool place to go watch. Go work in the pits. I was actually with the 06 team back then, and there was literally they just used the road and the inside of the track to pit the cars, and it was a fun night. But it was I think that's the only asphalt track, because I-70 they converted it to dirt, and now it's not even running this year, so it's embroiled in a bunch of legal. But anyway, Good luck the rest of the year,
Yeah,
man. Again, great to have you on the show. Jordan, you got anything for Andy J?
yeah. One. Yes. So Andy, what's it like to be featured in the new NASCAR 25 video game?
It's cool. Everyone, my girlfriend was super pumped up about it. It's really cool recognition. It's funny. One of my best friends on the team, is a young kid that we try to help out, and he helps us out, and he's good at social media stuff, and we'll tries to do some amateur racing. But he is when he's a teenager, he's a professional iRacer for the Joe Gibbs team, and he was actually contracted by Joe Gibbs
Oh,
and
nice.
sponsored, and he was in the NASCAR Heat 5 video game. He's actually a playable character. So, he's like the low man on the totem pole on our race team. We call him Rowdy because he was sponsored by, Rowdy Energy Drink. But it's funny, like whenever it comes up, I always make that joke, like, great, I finally achieved, I'm right where Rowdy is now, the low man on the totem pole on the team. I've gotten to his level of accomplishment because I'm in the video game, because he was in a video game. So that's always the joke we make. But no, it's really cool that they thought to include the ARCA series, and I think it's it's awesome. I think all these guys that run the ARCA tour, just to get a little bit of acknowledgement and kind of feel like we're part of that elite status of drivers. Obviously, we all aspire to be a Jeff Gordon and all these guys who grew up watching. So when you include it in the NASCAR video game, you do kind of feel like, in a little tiny way, you made it a little bit. So it's a cool feeling for sure.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Maybe one of these days I can get in one of those games. I don't know. I have to make a couple ARCA starts myself.
Well, we appreciate you stopping by the show. It's good chatting with you. Like Chris said, good luck with the rest of the season, and you are welcome to come back anytime you have free time.
You guys let me know. Sorry for all the technical malfunctions.
Yeah, right on.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on the show.
That's all we have each week with difficulties. Yeah. Right.
Well, that was Andy J. Andy Jankowiak, who runs in the ARCA Menards series, driving for Class Motorsports. Well, Jordan, it's about time to. Well, we got anything else to cover while we're at it?
Well, let's go ahead and do the Word of Outlaws real quick.
The Winged Warriors. Let's do it.
All right. Yeah. So tonight they're at Mississippi's Thunder Valley. Right. Let's talk about it. I forgot what the hell it was.
Well, the gentleman that was released. What did I say last week to Everett and yourself? I think I said he ain't going to be out of work for too long. Well, guess what? Less than 48 hours, he found another ride. So let's see here.
So Danny Schatz is let's see. He is with. But you did say that. And last week in our predictions last week, I was the only one that actually got one right with Corey Heim winning at Richmond. Ain't that a bitch?
Oh, that's it. I went 0 for this last weekend. So did Everett. Everett was 0 for 3. So even the ARCA series, I'm supposed to be the one that's dialed into the junior series, and even I blew it. So, maybe I can get on the board this week. We'll see.
Right. But no, that was a fun stuff. Well, guys, in Mississippi, Thunder Speedway tonight. Hopefully we can have your results from the World of Outlaws. We are going to start covering our dirt as our season is as the big series, major series is just starting to come towards the end. We have our IndyCar wrap-up show coming up soon, followed by our NASCAR Cup Series wrap-up, our Formula One wrap-up, our Hall of Fame show, our season wrap-up show. Then we go on our Christmas, what's going to be called the 4Y Media Holiday Christmas break. And then we're going to do our off-season. I got some fun stuff planned for the off-season, kind of like some games and stuff, trivia and stuff, some cool stuff like that. So we keep things going while the Tulsa Shootout's coming out in December. Plus, we got the Chili Bowl, and then we have the Rolex 24, and then the big boys and girls hit the track once again in February for the Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium. Don't forget to join us this Thursday for our weekend preview show, as we've got, you guessed it, the monster known as. Thank you for Andy J for being a part of our show. Chris and myself, you guys have a wonderful Tuesday, and we will see you guys again on Thursday.
See ya.